Hello viewers, welcome to Kids Auto and Truck Repair. Today we're gonna do something different. I'm gonna show you the vehicles that we're gonna work on today. We specifically going to work on a Chrysler 200 in this video. We have a Chrysler 200 outside that's leaking coolant. So we're gonna figure out why that vehicle has a coolant leak. And then I'm also gonna tell you a little bit about this 2017 Mercedes Matrix with a 2.0-liter engine. Now, I checked this vehicle last week. This vehicle came to us because the owner thought that there was a coolant leak, and it's also here for regular maintenance. So it's gonna need front brakes. Actually, after I checked it, I realized that there is no coolant leaks. So it doesn't have a coolant leak. We're gonna do the oil change on this vehicle. We're gonna replace front brakes and the air filter. Now, I'm gonna lift up the vehicle so I can show you how everything looks underneath. And then we're gonna go outside and bring in the Chrysler 200. After the Chrysler 200, we're gonna check out a BMW X1 that we have outside with an oil leak. So hopefully fixing the Chrysler 200 won't take us long, and then we will check out the BMW. So this is something new we're trying. This is not going to be a diagnosis video, so I want you guys to let us know how this is going to go and how you're going to like it. Now, before we move on, I want to say thank you to our cameraman. So cameraman Matt, thanks for being here. So now I am going to bring you guys here under the hood. Let me grab my flashlight. So I'm going to lower the vehicle a little bit. Now, I already checked this vehicle off camera on Friday, so I know what's wrong with it. And I don't think we're gonna film fixing this, but I wanna show you. So if cameraman Matt can bring everyone here. So as you can see, we're just looking under the hood. The engine looks good. The belt is fine. So I already did the inspection on this vehicle. So this vehicle doesn't need much. I checked the air filter, and to check the air filter on this vehicle, you have to remove the air filter box, which is right here. Okay, so we took the air filter out of the air filter box. Look how much dirt we have in this thing. Okay, so I recommended replacing the air filter box on this vehicle. We're gonna replace the air filter and the cabin air filter. Now, we don't have the parts yet. I already ordered the parts. The parts will be here tomorrow. So I will fix this vehicle tomorrow. So for now, I'm gonna put the air filter box back on so we can drive this vehicle outside. After we drive this outside, we will bring in another vehicle. Okay, so this just goes in like that. There's a sensor here that we have to connect. And then there is a clamp that goes right here. Okay. So we had to do all of this. We had to remove all this stuff so we could get to the air filter. So I'm gonna tighten this clamp. So I know the owner of this vehicle very well. He's a good friend of mine. When he first called me, he said, "Dio, I think I have a coolant leak because my coolant level is low." I said, "Really? Okay, bring it to the shop. I'll take a look." So when he brought it, I pressure tested the cooling system. I didn't find a leak. Actually, if you can see over here, I don't know if cameraman Matt will be able to show the level. If you see over here, you see that the coolant level is a little bit lower than normal, but it's nothing crazy, so nothing to worry about. I'm going to close the hood. I'm gonna lift up the vehicle so we can check it out underneath. I will show you the front brakes. And after that, I'm gonna put the tires back on so we can drive it outside. I'm gonna show you this brake rotor. If cameraman Matt will be able to see this, there is a ridge over here at the end of the rotor. Okay, and this brake rotor, this friction surface is not flat, it's not smooth. I can feel some cracks over here. While he's driving, when he steps on the brake pedal, the pedal pulsates a little bit, okay? That is because this friction surface on the brake rotor is not flat. So I recommended replacing front brake rotors and brake pads. The pads are actually not too bad. Okay, the pads still have a little bit of life in them, but while we're here, I'm going to replace, so this over here is the thickness of the lining on the pad. Actually, let me grab a brake pad thickness tester. Since this rotor is not, since the friction material on the rotor is not smooth, the friction material on the pad also won't be smooth. So if you just replace the rotor and leave the old pads in, you know, that can affect the brake's performance. So I'm gonna get my brake pad thickness tool. Where is it? Yeah, so here it is. Actually, look at this side. This side over here is even worse. I don't know if you can tell, there are like lines across this friction material, you know, and as I'm actually running my finger up and down across this, you can see that this surface over here is worn out. So let's do this test on this side. So as you guys can see, our brake caliper pistons are sticking out. This is the caliper piston, and this over here is the brake pad. This is the friction material. So I'm going to use this tool over here to check my friction material. So this is gonna go right here. Okay, so this doesn't go in. So this tool goes between the metal backing plate of the pad and the brake disc. So this is too big. So it looks like it's the yellow one. Okay, right there. Okay, so what does it say here? It says 6 millimeter. Okay, so the pads, technically, like I said, the pads are not bad. We could reuse the pads, but I know my friend uses this vehicle for work. It's his work vehicle, so I am not going to recommend reusing the old pads. So this is going to get, the rotors are completely worn out. Okay, so this is going to get new front rotors and front pads. Now I'm gonna go, actually let's check the back. I hope you guys will be able to see through the rim over here. So the back brakes don't look bad. It looks like they were done recently, because this pad over here looks new. We have a CarQuest pad, and then the brake rotor, I can tell that the brake rotor was replaced recently. Okay, so back brakes are fine. We're not going to touch back brakes on this vehicle. I do have a shop safety inspection that we do. We have a checklist that we go through. Maybe next time I'll show you my checklist, my vehicle inspection that we do on every vehicle that comes in the shop. I already did that on Monday. No, I did that on Friday on this vehicle, but as we were thinking about what kind of video we were going to shoot today, and this is kind of just the idea we had, we said, why don't we show our viewers what we do in the shop? So I'm going to show you how everything looks underneath. I already checked it. So come here so you guys can see. Now, I did remove this cover on Monday. Maybe it would have been a lot better if we took this cover off, but cameraman Matt, if you can come on this side. This is the transmission. I mean, everything is pretty dry over here. Okay, look how clean this is. This is really clean. Transmission looks fine. Nothing is leaking. This vehicle is in really good condition. Drive shaft is fine. Drive shaft support bearings are fine. Exhaust system is good. Exhaust hangers are good. Okay, and back here, our drive axles are fine. The rear differential looks good. There are no leaks around it. Actually, I checked service info. So this vehicle is not due yet for rear differential fluid service and transmission fluid service. He still has a couple of miles to go before we do the differential fluid service and the transmission fluid service. So while this is here, we're going to do the oil change and we're gonna fix the brakes. Yeah, so this vehicle is in good condition. All right, so that's good. So now let's lower the vehicle. So now I am going to put the tires back on. Now I'm gonna drive this vehicle outside because I don't have the parts for it yet. I ordered all the parts. I'll have the parts for this tomorrow. So once I get all the parts, I'll bring it back so we can fix it. Okay. And then actually it's gonna need front tires and wheel alignment. I don't know if you guys can tell. Look at this tire. Look at the outer edge of the tire. So this is caused by steering angles that are off, okay? So I'm gonna have to recommend tires on this one, and then alignment. We're gonna have to align it and see how it does. Since we don't have the parts for it, we're gonna ship it outside for now. Now, I know some of you will say, why don't you use a torque wrench? Now, this gun over here has a couple settings. When I put it on the second setting puts out about 85 foot-pounds, okay? So, I'm not going full speed or full throttle on this gun. Now, you can use a torque wrench if you want, but when you use this on the second setting, you should be good, all right? Because we're gonna remove these tires again tomorrow. So we should be good. All right, so I'm gonna install the tire on the other side and then we're gonna drive this out. All right, so I got the vehicle on the ground. So we're gonna drive it outside for now. I'll bring it back in tomorrow. Actually, this vehicle only has 65,000 miles, 65,877. This engine sounds good. We're gonna park this right here for now. I'm gonna bring another vehicle in. We have this BMW here. This is here for just regular service. This needs an oil change. I will work on this one after we are done checking the other BMW over there. Actually, come with me, Matt. So I think I should bring that one in first because this one will probably take us a little bit longer. And the owner of this vehicle is out of town, so he told me, take your time, I'm out of town. So he won't be back until Wednesday or Thursday. So after we're done with the Chrysler, we will bring this BMW in. That one has an oil leak. Now I'm gonna bring in this Chrysler. The owner of the vehicle told me that his wife was driving. She noticed that the temperature gauge went all the way up. She turned it off and then she called her husband. He went there and looked at the car, put coolant in the cooling system. He told me that once he put coolant in the cooling system, he could see coolant leaking from under the vehicle. He drove it to the shop. I told him, tow it. He said he drove it. He watched the gauge, the temperature gauge on the dash. He told me that the vehicle didn't overheat when he drove it to the shop after he put coolant in it. So hopefully there are no damages that were done to the engine. The engine is fairly cold. So if I start the engine and drive in the shop, we're not gonna damage anything, okay? So I'm gonna start the engine. So right there, as you can hear, the engine is running. This vehicle has 132,000 miles, 956. All right, so now let's drive this in the shop. All right, so I'm gonna set up the last lift arm and then we're gonna lift up the vehicle. So let's see what we're gonna find. I'm gonna open the hood. Let's grab our light. So what I would like to do is I am going to get my cooling system pressure tester. We're gonna pressurize the system. Let me show you guys the coolant reservoir. Look at this reservoir. You see how empty it is? So there's no coolant in this reservoir. So this definitely has a leak. Let's do a quick visual inspection around the engine. Oh, check this out. Haha, I think I see the problem. Do you see this, Matt? This thing is disconnected. Okay, so that's the problem. Well, that was easy. That thing shouldn't be disconnected. Now the question is, oh wow, there isn't enough room around it. Everything is so tight down here. And it looks like this tube over here, so it looks like this tube got disconnected. Yeah, see this little plastic tube? It broke. And if I follow it, it looks like this one goes to the hero core. That should be pretty straightforward. Although we don't have enough room behind the engine to get to the hero core hose. Yeah, so this is clearly our problem here. So I'm going to disconnect this tube. This hose over here needs to be replaced also. So this hose connects to a metal tube that's down here. There's an elbow down here. I don't know how well Matt will be able to see that. Yeah. So yeah, this tube connects to that metal hose over there. Okay. So I'm gonna have to disconnect it. Luckily, it has a quick disconnect. I'm gonna disconnect that, and then I'm gonna disconnect the hose that goes to the hero core, and then we're gonna replace it. After that, we're gonna put coolant in the cooling system, and then we're gonna pressurize the system and see what happens. So right now, what I wanna do is, I would like to remove this tube. I'm gonna remove the air inlet tube so I can get enough room between the valve cover and the firewall, because I would like to access the hero hose on the hero core. So let me grab a flat screwdriver. Let's use this, and I'm gonna disconnect this. I'm gonna disconnect this tube. There is another clamp over here. Okay, and then there's a 10 mil nut over here, bolt, that I have to undo, and then this tube is gonna come out. Okay, just like that. I'm gonna get this out of the way. So now let's see how much room I have. Okay, so this tube, look at the throttle body. Actually, the throttle body is a little dirty. We're gonna have to clean that. While we got that tube out, we might as well clean it too. So I'm gonna put this over here because we don't want anything falling in the throttle body. All right, so this tube over here is what we have to disconnect. Now the question is, how are we going to get to it? Because there's literally no room around this thing. No room. So let me see if I can disconnect these tubes. I'm gonna try to disconnect this tube just so I can get enough room. So now what I'm doing is I'm getting this tube out of the way. Okay, this little vacuum tube, I'm just gonna push it out of the way. So that's gonna allow me to get to the hero hose. Oh man, this hose is not easy to get to. Okay, so Good. So I looked at it. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to disconnect the upper heater hose first, and then once I disconnect the upper heater hose, I will be able to disconnect the lower heater hose. I'm gonna get a drain container under the vehicle, and then we're gonna do that. All right, guys, before we continue with this vehicle, I'm gonna call the customer and let the customer know about what we found. I would like to get the authorization of replacing the heater hose, the heater core hose. We're gonna replace that hose. We're gonna put coolant in the cooling system. We're gonna pressurize it to see if we have any other leaks somewhere else. And after that, we're gonna take this for a test drive. And I'm pretty sure after we do that, this is gonna be fixed. So this should be pretty easy. Now, let's call the customer and let him know about what we found. So the lower heater core hose was busted. So I'm gonna call him and see, because we're gonna have to get that hose from the dealer and replace it.
Your call has been forwarded.
Okay, so he's not picking up. He's gonna see our missed calls and he will call us back. So while we're waiting for him to call back, let's go ahead and get the heater hose removed. All right, so we got a drain container under the car. So I don't know if Matt will be able to show you guys what I'm doing back here. So now I'm gonna disconnect the first one. So I got the first heater hose disconnected. Okay, so here it is. So what I did was, let me show you guys what I did. So I got this peak and I got to this locking ring. I pulled it up to undo the locking ring. Okay, so I can push it back in. Now I need to get to the lower heater hose. Man, everything is so tight back here. What the heck? Actually, the position of the hose is even. So basically, the way I'm gonna remove the top one, the way I removed the top one is technically the same way we're gonna remove the bottom one. Yeah, so I got the spring pulled out, and then I'm gonna pull out the hose. So here it is. So here comes the hose. All right, so here comes our heater hose. Okay, so what I did was I got this peak, I got to this ring, pulled it up like this, and then pulled out the hose. So this is the problem. All right, so we're gonna get this hose over here. Now I'm gonna disconnect the other half of it that goes to the metal line over here. I don't know if there we go. Oh, come on. Okay, this is difficult to film. I don't know why they make it so tight like this, because how are you freaking supposed to remove this if everything is so in the way? And oh, nice. Nice. I just got the spring up. Such a weird angle. Maybe. Oh man. Freaking Chrysler, man. I need to remove this little locking pin first. Yeah, came out. Okay, I don't care because I think the new one will come with another one. There we go. Woo. There we go. Okay. So here it comes. So I had to remove the little locking pin that goes over here. I mean locking ring. Okay. So basically this is how it goes. This is the entire assembly. Okay. So this piece broke. Now I believe you have to buy the whole hose from the dealer. That's how you replace it. So now, since our customer is not picking up his phone, I'm gonna call him again because I need to get the go ahead to get these hoses, and then we're gonna go ahead and replace them. Let me see if I can find that little ring that we dropped, but if we don't find it, that's fine. It's just a tiny little ring. Actually, look at the piece of the hose that broke. Okay, I'm not gonna stress over it. I can't find it. I can't find that ring. So my phone is ringing. Hopefully that's the owner of the vehicle calling back.
Your call has been...
All right, guys, so this guy is not picking up his phone. We have to move on and continue. Now, I know the owner of this vehicle. He's a good friend of mine. He's been a customer for many, many years. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a new hose from the dealer. We have to get this heater hose from the dealer. Although I can't get a hold of him, I know him, he works at night, so he's probably sleeping right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the hose and get it fixed. I'm sure, I'm like 100% sure if I get a hold of him, he's gonna tell me to go ahead and do it. So I'm gonna go ahead, just to save time, I'm gonna go ahead and get the hose ordered from the dealer. Once we get the hose and the coolant, I'm gonna bring you guys back up so we can install the new hose, and after that, we will test drive the vehicle. So I'm sure he's gonna call me back at some point when he wakes up, and then I will tell him what we found. He's probably gonna watch this video. So I'm gonna get the hose and then I'll bring you guys back up. A couple of hours later, we got our coolant from our local Chrysler dealership, and here are our heater hoses. So if cameraman can show you guys these hoses. So this hose is the one that goes over here against the elbow, that goes on the cylinder head, and then this one over here is what goes on the bottom of the heater hose. Okay, so this is what we're gonna install, and then after that we're gonna fill up the cooling system. Now these are the part numbers. This is the part number for the first one, and then this over here is the part number for the second one. I'm gonna show you why I put a little bit of grease on the male part of this tube. So there is an O-ring. I hope you can see there's an O-ring right here. So when you grease up the tube that slides into this opening, it makes it a lot easier because you can accidentally damage this O-ring. Okay, now if you look at this one, maybe you'll be able to see it better. This one has an orange O-ring. Yeah, so this O-ring over here. So it's always better to put a little bit of grease in it, which will help when you install it. Okay, so now I'm going to install the hose that goes to the heater core first. So I'm going to install this guy. So I'm going to connect the bottom hose first of the heater core. Okay, I'm going to push it in. So I just have to make sure that it's lined up. There you go. I heard it click. Okay, just like that. Good. So now I'm gonna install the top line, just like that. Perfect. So now I'm gonna install this one. Okay, so we're gonna make sure that the line is straight to the tube. And then we're gonna push it in. Oh man, this thing is hard. All right, we got this tube lined up. I'm gonna push it all the way. Perfect, so that's in. I'm gonna try to pull it out. It's not coming out, so that's good. All right, nice. So now let me change my glove, and then we're gonna open the throttle. We're gonna open the throttle, clean it, and then we will put everything back together. Got new gloves. Now I am going to reconnect. I'm gonna reconnect the sensor that goes to the brake booster. I mean this little check valve. And then I'm gonna reconnect the electrical connector for it. Man, it's windy today. All right, so this guy is going to get connected right here. So I'm gonna apply just a little bit of grease. I always like to grease these fittings over here because of the O-ring in the tube. Okay, perfect. Just like that, we are fixed. I'm gonna connect this tube. Nice. All right, so now let's put coolant in the cooling system. The coolant, yeah, right here. This is what we're gonna install. Okay, 50-50 OEM coolant. I love using OEM stuff. OEM, more power.
Do you have to go past the max?
No, not at all. Because since I'm putting right now, I know there are a couple. I mean, the engine is fairly empty. You see how it's going down?
Okay.
Yeah. It's gonna go down and then. But no, you know you don't want to go past the max because when the engine is running, this coolant expands. So if you put it too much, if you overfill it, it's gonna start overflowing. Yeah. Okay, so now the other thing we could do is we can pressurize the cooling system to see if it's gonna hold pressure before we go on a test drive. Actually, we should do that. Can you hear it burping? Because there's air in the system, so it's burping out all the air. So while it's burping out the air, I am going to connect a scan tool to open the throttle so we can clean it. Here's our scanner. I'm gonna connect this scanner dongle to the vehicle. Now, we have this temperature sensor over here that is connected. This temperature sensor that goes on the air tube. So when I turn the key on, there will be a code in the engine computer for it. So we're gonna ignore that. I will erase it after I put everything back together. So I'm gonna connect our scan tool over here. We're just gonna leave the dongle right here. I'm gonna turn the key on. Okay. Now let's see what we got. I got the Autel scan tool connected to the vehicle. So now let's see if we're gonna be able to open the throttle with the Autel scan tool. So let's see what we got. We're gonna read the VIN. Hopefully Autel will be able to open this throttle. But if not, then I won't be able to clean it. because it would be so good to just clean the throttle while we're here. Let me scan this for fault codes. Okay, we're gonna list these control units. We're gonna go into the engine computer. Now, sometimes the active codes that you have on the scan tool, on the Autel scan tool, are similar to the ones you have on the Autel scan tool. So hopefully this one will have more. All right, so let's see what we got. Injector, fuel pump, duty cycle, purge valve, purge solenoid. Okay, so even the Autel scan tool cannot open the throttle plate. So that's a bummer. Well, I wanted to clean the throttle plate while we're here, so I guess we won't be able to do it. So I'm gonna get the scan tool out of the way. So we can't do that. All right, so since we cannot open the throttle body with the scan tool, I'm still gonna clean it, okay? I'm gonna clean it while it's closed. As you can see, the throttle plate is dirty. I would have loved to clean it. You know, I mean, I would have loved to open it so I can clean it. I'm gonna spray some, I'm using some brake clean over here. Okay, this is what we're using to clean the throttle plate. So I'm gonna spray that in there. Now, this is better than nothing, okay? I don't wanna put too much, I don't wanna press on the plate because that can damage the plastic gears inside the throttle body. So we're just gonna gently clean around it. Okay, so it would have been a lot better if we could open it. Now I'm gonna grab our cooling system pressure tester kit. So check this out. I love this thing. Okay, so we have a bunch of adapters here. So we're gonna use this to pressurize the cooling system. We need the right adapter. That's gonna go on this filler hole right there. Okay, just like that. And then I'm gonna get the pump. So let me get this out of the way. Okay, so now we're gonna pressurize the cooling system. Maybe this is not the right adapter.
No,
It's leaking right there, yeah. So this is not the right adapter. Let me remove this. Maybe this one. Come on. I probably don't have it. This might work. Let's see. No. No. Really? I don't have the adapter for this Chrysler. That's odd. Okay, well, one more thing we have to buy. And then people wonder, why do you have to charge for diagnosis? Yeah, because buying all these tools is not cheap. Okay, let me see. Let me try this one. Maybe this one is gonna work. Maybe. No, this is not the right adapter. Because what's happening is when I'm pumping, it's leaking over here. So this is not the right adapter. That's good to know. I guess I don't have the right adapter for these Chryslers. So one more tool I have to buy. Okay, since I don't have the right adapter for it, we have the correct amount of coolant in the cooling system. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install the inlet tube, and then we're gonna start the engine. We're gonna observe it for a few minutes, to see if it's gonna leak. If there's no leaks, then we're gonna take this on a test drive. It's a lot easier if you can pressurize the cooling system while you have the vehicle in the shop. If there's another leak somewhere, then you can find it instead of trying to find out that you have another leak while you are on the test drive. So now I'm gonna install this tube. So this tube is gonna go right here, just like that. I'm gonna install that. Okay, so everything is put back together. There is a little 10 mil screw, bolt, that goes over here. I'm gonna tighten it. And then we're gonna tighten this clamp. Okay, there's another clamp over here on the throttle body. I'm gonna tighten this one. All right, so I got the throttle clamp tightened. So now I'm going to install this little plastic clamp over here. So we got everything back together. I'm going to check the engine oil level. Although it's not here for an oil change, one thing I always do when I have a vehicle in the shop, I always check the coolant level. I always check the engine oil level. And if the transmission has a dipstick, I always check the transmission oil level, because what you don't want to have is have a customer that brings a vehicle to you with low engine oil or low coolant for another issue. Even if it's just in the shop for AC or brakes, you do whatever the vehicle comes in for, and after you deliver it, 2 or 3 days later, they call you, hey, my engine seized because there was no oil in it, but you had it in your shop not too long ago. Why didn't you check it? So we don't want that, okay? So always check your fluids, always check everything. Now, the other thing that we always do when we have the vehicle in the shop, we always do an inspection. We check the brakes, lights, fluids, everything. Even if the vehicle is in the shop for another service, we always check everything, because we are not here just to fix vehicles, but we're also here to prevent customers' vehicles to break down. So if we figure out something while we're looking at it, we're gonna let the customer know, so they can make a decision about their vehicle, so we can help them not break down, okay? So let me check the oil level, and then I'm gonna do a quick inspection around the vehicle, and then we're gonna take it on a test drive. So the oil level is fine. So right there, we have enough oil in the engine, so that's good. We just put coolant in the cooling system. I'm gonna look around the engine bay. Everything looks pretty good. I'm gonna look at the belt. The serpentine belt is fine. Okay. So now let's lift up the vehicle. Let's go all the way up. We're gonna do a quick visual inspection under the vehicle before we go on a test drive. Now I'm gonna check the brakes. Actually, the brakes look fine. Brake rotors and brake pads look fine. And it looks like these brakes were done not too long ago. Okay. Actually, I did these brakes not too long ago. So brakes, front brakes are fine. Let's check rear brakes. Same thing in the rear. Brakes are fine. Brakes were done not too long ago. Now, I'm not gonna check the lights, because the body control unit on this vehicle is a smart body control unit. If you have a bulb that's out, it's gonna tell you on the dash. You have a message on the dash that says, right front headlight is out or something. So I know the lights are fine. If we had a light issue, we would have a message on the dash. So we don't have to check that. We could, but I'm not gonna bother checking lights. So I'm gonna lift the vehicle all the way up so we can check underneath. And then we're gonna go on a test drive. We're gonna look down here. What's that? Is this a leak? Or did this just come out of what we had? Because I see coolant drip. This is why I always like to pressurize the cooling system before I go on a test drive. I think we have a leak. You see this? I see coolant leaking down here. You see this? Yeah, we have a coolant leak. We're gonna have to check. We're gonna have to check under. What is this? There's a nut over here. Okay, actually, I wonder if this is the coolant that leaked out before, because I can actually hold, when I'm holding up here, I mean, you won't be able to see, but on top of the transmission, there's like a pool of coolant on top of the transmission. So I wonder if this is the coolant that leaked out before, that's just sitting on top of the transmission. Yeah, I think that's what it is, because there's a pool of coolant on top of the transmission. Yeah, and this is gonna dry out as we drive, so we might have to drive. Yeah, can you hear water? Can you hear this? I don't know, you won't be able to see, but it's up here. Can you hear it? Yeah, so there's a lot of coolant just, yeah, right there. I'm actually trying to like get it out. There's a lot of coolant sitting on top of the transmission. Yeah, and this is from the previous leak. Okay, yeah, so we don't have to worry about that. You know, after we go on a test drive, this is gonna dry. Okay, so tie rods look good, no play over here. Control arms are fine. Control arm bushings look good. Actually, when he dropped off the vehicle, he told me that there was a noise that he was hearing. So all the control arm bushings look good. Yeah, I don't see a problem here. Exhaust system looks good. Okay. Yeah. This is good. I don't see a problem. I don't see a cracked bushing or a cracked stabilizer bar link. So everything is good. Yeah. We don't have a bearing issue. I mean, we don't have a play over here. Yeah, that's good. All right. So now I'm gonna lower the vehicle. Let me get this out of the way. I'm gonna lower the vehicle so we can start the engine. I have a little rod over here that I like to use. Now, instead of going in the vehicle and step on the brake pedal, I'm gonna use this rod and push on the brake pedal. And then I'm gonna press the start button so I can start the engine. That's odd. It took a little longer to start. Okay. So let's install this light. So as you can hear, the engine is running. I'm gonna look around to see if we have a coolant leak. Nothing is leaking. So cameraman Matt, you can look around the engine and see if there's a leak. So our coolant level is fine. Okay, so we don't have a leak. So this is good. Our coolant level is fine. We're sitting at the maximum level. So I'm gonna close this cap. Now the check engine light is on the dash right now because we were doing the test while this temperature sensor over here was disconnected. So I'm gonna turn off the engine. I'm gonna connect my scan tool to the vehicle. I will erase the code. We don't have to screen record this. I'm just gonna erase the code and then we're gonna go on a test drive. Perfect. All right, so I erased all the codes. I'm going to disconnect our scan tool from the vehicle. I got the dongle disconnected. I'm gonna start the engine again. I'm gonna leave it idling while I'm getting it off the lift. Okay, so check engine light is off. Our coolant level is fine. Okay, I'm gonna close the hood. I'm gonna get the vehicle down all the way so we can go on a test drive. And then after our test drive, we're gonna wrap up this video. What the heck? It's leaking a lot?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me turn it off.
Yeah.
So I just found it right now and I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. So there's another hose leaking. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now as I'm talking to you. Are you filming? You should. Yeah, you should be filming. Okay. Yeah, so we're actually making a video about this. So you're probably gonna see this when it comes out. So yeah, so first leak we fixed. That was the estimate, the first estimate I sent you. So there will be another estimate I'll send you again about this hose that we're checking. I think I can see where it's leaking from. There's another hose that's leaking. So I need to make sure that's what it is, and then we will change it, and then we'll go from there. Matt, I think I saw what it's leaking from. Let me get the big light. Let me get that light. All right, so we have another leak. I'm glad this happened over here. Matt actually caught that. So this right here, if we had pressurized the system, we could have found it. So I looked around, this is what I found. So this tube over here that comes from the surge tank, if you follow this coolant tube, it goes around, and then over here it turns into a rubber hose. So right here, so this, yeah, right there, this is where our leak is. So we're gonna have to replace this tube. Okay, so as you can see, it's completely broken. So that's where our leak is. So right there. Okay, so we have to get this hose replaced, and then we should be good to go. All right, guys, a couple of hours later, we got this hose from the dealer. I talked to the customer off camera. He gave us the go-ahead to replace this tube. So this is a rubber hose and a metal tube. So what's leaking is this end over here. So this end on the vehicle side is leaking, so it's broken. This is what we're gonna install. I'm gonna put it over here. Now we're gonna remove the one on the vehicle. So I'm gonna undo this one here. This thing needs to come off. Okay, so as you can see, we can lift this. So it broke. I hope you can see that little plastic piece over there broke. And then there is a 10 mil nut over here that I have to undo. Okay, and then I'm going to disconnect it over here. I hate these type of clamps. All right, so we're gonna disconnect this one over here, just like that. And now we can remove this tube. Coolant is gonna leak from that tube All right, we got this old one removed. I'm gonna get it out of the way. Oops, there's still a little bit of coolant in it. So now, I don't know, Matt, you probably won't be able to see this, but there is that piece. Removing this is gonna be interesting. There are 2 tabs. There you go, right here. So this is the piece that broke. So let me grab the old one so I can show you. Okay, so this piece over here connects to this one. Okay, so this broke, and that's the problem. So to disconnect this, you have to press these quick disconnect tabs to release it. Now let me show you the new one. Look how the new one looks. Okay. All right, so now let's install the new tube. We're gonna do the reverse process of the removal process. I'm gonna make sure that this is lined up. I'm gonna push it in. Okay, I heard it snap in, just like that. And then we're gonna feed this one over here. This one is gonna go right here. Then this one will go right here. Easy peasy. Then this is gonna go just like that. So I'm gonna install the clamp, and then we should be good to go. Perfect. All right, so now we're gonna install the nut that goes over here. And then this is gonna go right here. Okay. All right, so that's it. Now, in case I don't know where the part number is, in case you guys wanted to see the part number, I don't know if this is the part number for it. Maybe this over here. Okay. All right. Now, we had a little bit of coolant come out. I'm going to top off the cooling system, and then I'm going to start the engine so we can observe and see if we have another leak somewhere. I think we should be good now. So let's put coolant in the cooling system, and then we should be good to go. All right, so now I'm going to start the engine. All right, as you can hear, the engine is running. So we're gonna look around the engine bay to see if we have a leak. Okay, so everything looks good. We don't have a leak around the engine, so I'm sure we're good to go now. I'm going to lift up the vehicle so we can look under the vehicle to make sure we don't have a leak before we go on a test drive. So let's lift this up. All right. So as you can see, we don't have a leak over here. Now this is coolant from the leak that we had. Okay. So everything looks good. Yeah, I think that's the only leak that we had. So now I'm gonna lower the vehicle and then we're gonna go on a test drive. We're good to go. So now I'm gonna close the hood so we can go on a test drive. All right, so let's test drive this puppy. So let's go for a drive, and then when we get back, we're gonna show everyone the temperature gauge on the dash, and then we should be good to go. Now, he told me that there is a noise that he's been hearing while he's driving, but I don't hear a noise right now. We're gonna have another happy customer. So we don't have to go far. I'm gonna turn around up here, and then we're gonna drive back to the shop so we can wrap up this video. We have a couple projects that we have to move on to. So we have that black BMW that we have to do the oil change on, and then we have the white BMW that has an oil leak, so I would like to get to that too. And then actually Matt and I are working on this old Ford pickup. I think it's is it a 1996? 86, I think. It's a 1986. So we started working on it, but we haven't finished it yet. So hopefully we'll finish it tomorrow or sometime this week. I thought we were gonna fix that this afternoon, but this vehicle here took us a little bit longer because we had to wait to get the parts from the dealer. So let's go to the shop and wrap up this. So this is good. The vehicle drives well. Our temperature is increasing nicely on the dash. So this is good. Now, one thing I now know is I need the right adapter for my for this vehicle. I have to buy the cooling system pressure tester adapter for these Chrysler 200s, because that's good to have, because if I had that, we would have found the other leak if we had pressurized the cooling system. So we are back at the shop. Yeah, we're done. This is good. It's fixed. Matt, I don't know if you can show everyone the dash. If you can show everyone the dash right here. So this is our temperature gauge. Okay, so it's not overheating. Everything is good. Okay, temperature gauge. So we're good to go. Let's open the hood. Okay, so all this steam that you see over here is from the coolant that leaked on this area. Now let's show the coolant reservoir. So as you guys can see, our coolant level is normal. We are sitting at the maximum level, so that's good. We didn't lose coolant when we went on our test drive. Oh, actually, this thing over here this clamp just opened. I'm glad we checked it. So I'm gonna have to put a different clamp there. Let me release the pressure. All right, so that's good. That's not going anywhere. Yeah, this clamp over here didn't work. All right, guys, that's it. This Chrysler 200 is fixed. We replaced the hero core hoses. We replaced the tube that goes to the surge tank. We filled the cooling system with coolant. We test drove the vehicle. Now all is well. I hope you like the video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you gotta tell me why so we can make better videos in the future. If this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. Thank you very much everyone for watching. Cameraman Matt, thank you for being here. See you next time.